Hello, welcome to the channel Wise Stories. Enjoy watching.
Sebastián, a wealthy entrepreneur and respected person in the city, was standing outside the courthouse with Laura, his ex-wife, saying goodbye forever. Today they got divorced. He looked at the woman one last time. She was damn beautiful, well-dressed, and not too mean. They could still live together. But their life together was not happy. There was no love between them. Maybe if they'd had children, they would have played the role of a family. But they had no children, so they did not live as a family, but rather as roommates. Over the years, communication between them was reduced to phrases, "Are you hungry? How's it going? Is everything okay?" The man laughed faintly and said, "Well, I guess goodbye, Laura. I wish you happiness. I'm sorry it happened this way. We tried to create a real family, but it didn't work out." The woman replied seriously, "Yes, you're right. We only torment each other. We should not have got married at all, but our parents insisted on that. Good luck, Sebastian. Maybe you will meet someone else, true love. But after all these years you have not forgotten Mariana, you still love her. I have always felt that. It was as if she was invisibly between us. That's probably why things didn't work out between us." Sebastián answered irritably, "Don't mention Mariana, I beg you. You know, it's a sensitive subject for me. Well, I have to go. I have a lot of work to do. I sincerely wish you all the best, Laura." That's how easily and effortlessly the couple, who had lived together for 10 years, separated for good. In the evening, Sebastián decided to meet his old friend, Adrián, for a heart-to-heart talk in a cafe. Sebastián was depressed that night. He was supposed to be happy, now he was single. He could do whatever he wanted, and nobody would have looked at him reproachfully and demanded his constant attention. But he was in no mood at all. After drinking some alcohol and eating a delicious, spicy pizza, Adrián said, "To be honest, Sebastián, I don't understand you. Why did you suddenly decide to divorce Laura? She's a good woman, a great housewife. I've visited you often, and I've tasted her food. God gave her both beauty and intelligence. I don't understand what you've been missing. Do you think you'd be better off alone?" The man sighed and shrugged. "I don't know, maybe not better, but at least we don't have to pretend to be a family. The truth is, we were never really a family. It was a show that lasted for years, a show we tried to believe in. Laura and I were strangers from the beginning, you know? Nothing has changed in all these years. When I think of my Mariana, my heart beats differently. That was real love, everything inside was singing. I wanted to hug her, kiss her, and make her happy. With Laura, it had never felt like this. Intimacy was like an obligation. No pleasure." Adrián kept wondering, why did you even think of her? It was the first love, it's the most vivid feeling for many people. I often quarrel with my Sabrina, and sometimes I'm ready to kill her. But you're right, we have 2 teenage children, we have no choice, so we live together because of them, like everyone else. Sebastián continued, "Exactly. Like everyone else. And I don't want to be like everyone else. God has not given us children, and we have no common interests. It's a boring routine, not life. If only Mariana had given me a baby. I'd be the happiest person in the universe, raising a son or daughter." Wow, so many years have passed since that tragedy, and you still love Mariana. Life is such a strange thing. I feel so sorry for the girl. She died in such a horrible way. She was so young. Let's drink to her, God rest her soul. They drank in silence, spent some more time in the cafe, talking about life, and then went home. Sebastián went into the apartment, which had suddenly become cold and empty without Laura. He sat down in a chair, took an album of old photographs, and began to go through them, remembering every episode of his life. Sebastián's parents were wealthy and powerful people. His mother was a CEO of a shoe factory, and his father was a criminal lawyer. His services cost a lot of money, and everything was scheduled for a year in advance. So the boy's childhood and youth were wonderful. He had the best of everything: branded clothes, lessons with the best teachers, high-quality expensive food, and a vacation in a tropical paradise abroad twice a year. At the same time, Sebastián's father didn't let the boy relax. He was a strict father, and his mother often took him to work, showing him how she and her subordinates worked. His mother hoped that her son would also join her business when he grew up. Sebastián studied well and made his parents happy. After school, he followed in his mother's footsteps and started his own business, manufacturing and selling branded leather shoes. He didn't waste his time on mass production of poor quality shoes. It was expensive products of excellent quality. This is probably why, over the years, his business got so many loyal customers from among the wealthy people of the city. He managed to survive the crisis and did not go bankrupt. Although it was very difficult, many people knew and respected him as a professional in his field. Sebastián met his first and only love, Mariana, by chance when he stayed overnight at a hotel on vacation. Mariana worked there as a maid. Sebastián was getting ready to leave, but he decided to take a shower as it would be a long and exhausting trip. When he got out of the shower in just his underwear, wiping himself with a towel and singing his favorite song, he saw the maid with a vacuum cleaner, who couldn't hear him. The guy coughed loudly. The poor girl, seeing him half naked, blushed like a boiled lobster, jumped up, and then began to move back and apologize. "Oh, my gosh. How embarrassing. I am so sorry. I was told to go and clean this room. I thought you'd already left. I knocked for a long time, but nobody opened the door. I'll leave right away. I'm really sorry. I'm just new here. I must have mixed up something." Sebastián laughed. The situation was indeed funny. He said cheerfully, "Don't worry about it. It's all right. It happens. My name is Sebastián. What's yours? I did not know that such fragile pretty girls can work as maids. It's a hard job, all day on your feet." And so they began to communicate. This young, petite, modest girl charmed him from the start. It was as if a spark flashed between them. The attraction was mutual. She looked at him in such a way, her gaze was burning him. Sebastián and Mariana became friends, and initially, he visited her in her hometown, and a couple of months later he took Mariana to his city. He admired her strength of character. Mariana had been an orphan, grew up in an orphanage, and had suffered a lot there. Not all adults would be able to go through what she went through as a child. She had no parents, not even those who drank, and no other relatives. She was left at the gates of the orphanage when she was a baby, as if she was an unwanted kitten. After graduation, she studied by correspondence to become a teacher and had a part-time job at a hotel. She had to earn some money for a living. At the same time, she was positive, easygoing, and smiling. The love between them burst out like a flame, almost instantly. It would seem that there is nothing special about her, small, skinny, with a delicate voice. They don't make movies or sing songs about girls like that. But a boy's heart raced like crazy in his chest when he touched her. Everything inside was on fire. He would just pick her up and whirl her around. She knew Sebastián was not a poor man, but she never asked for anything, not even a bit. To her, he was just a knight who, like in a fairy tale, appeared out of nowhere and saved the princess from imprisonment, falling in love with her. Sebastián was still studying at the University of Economics and was gradually learning the basics of business. He was so excited, and one day he invited his beloved home to meet his parents. For some reason, he was sure his mother would like Mariana because she was so wonderful. At first, the parents were friendly and nice, but they asked too many simple but tricky questions. His father was especially good at this. Slowly sipping his wine, he asked, "Mariana, where do you like to spend your vacation? Here in the South, or do you prefer exotic countries? And where do you work? Or are you getting a university degree? At what university, if it's not a secret?" Mariana behaved modestly, in a simple way, trying to keep her mouth shut. She answered quietly and briefly, afraid to say too much. She knew she had nothing much to brag about. But when she told them she was an orphan and had been raised in an orphanage, Sebastián's mother changed her face in an instant. Mariana felt that she was no longer wanted in this house. The small talk continued, and his father smiled faintly. But when Sebastián went to see his girlfriend off, she suddenly burst into tears like a baby in the entryway. The boy was confused and hugged her. "Why are you crying, sweetie? Come here, got overexcited?" Mariana sobbed. "They didn't like me, I know. Will you leave me now? It's all over between us, isn't it?" Sebastián smiled, stroking her hair. "Don't talk nonsense. No matter what my parents say, remember that I love you and I won't give up on you. I swear. How will I survive without my little girl?" Mariana wiped away her tears, smiled, and calmed down a little. She loved Sebastián so much that she couldn't imagine her life without him. After she left, a scandal broke out in the house. His mother yelled, "Son, are you out of your mind? Why are you hanging out with this lowlife? She has nothing. Is this the daughter-in-law we dreamed of? What kind of future do you have with her? Your university friend, Laura, that's the kind of girl you need. Beautiful, well-educated. She's the daughter of a businessman. She speaks 3 languages. What's so great about that penniless skinny orphan Mariana?" Sebastián was also furious. "Do you think that if she is an orphan, she is a bad person? And we can't love each other because of that? How can you be so cruel, mother? Do you even know how hard it is for her? She's all alone in this world. And Laura is just a friend. I don't love her at all. I don't even like her as a girl." Then his father joined the conversation. Being a lawyer, he reasoned pragmatically. "Let's say you're in love. So what? Is she going to live here with us? No, dear, it won't work that way. If you're an adult and our opinion means nothing to you, then provide for yourself and live with your orphan wherever you want. But without my money, okay?" Sebastián was boiling with rage. "Well, fine, I'll go and pack. I won't be lost without you. All the best. I thought you would support me and accept Mariana, but you..." The guy rented an inexpensive, small, old, but pretty cozy house on the outskirts of the city and moved there with Mariana. It was just the 2 of them. He had an entrepreneurial spirit even then. He started selling clothes and shoes. He worked hard to provide for his sweetheart. Those were the best memories of his life. What a good time they had together. Mariana, despite her young age and lack of experience, turned out to be very clever. She learned how to cook, run her household, and continue her studies. Sebastián, as a responsible man, forbade her to work as a maid because now he was the head of the family and it was his responsibility now. His beloved did not argue with him, obeyed him in everything, and idolized him. They had such hot nights together. They could love each other until dawn. Tenderness and passion literally flooded them both. He saved up some money and gave Mariana a handmade silver bracelet with hearts for her birthday. Unfortunately, he didn't have enough money for gold. She was over the moon and whispered to him softly, "Sebastián, you are the best. I love you so much. No one has ever given me anything like this. With you, I feel like I'm in a fairy tale." The couple planned to get married soon and have a modest wedding. They decided to invite his parents despite their conflicts. When Sebastián's mother heard the news, she flatly refused to go. Father only frowned and kept silent. The woman yelled at her husband, "Why did you put your head down and didn't say a word? Go, live as you wish, son. And now what? Be happy with your orphan daughter-in-law. She'll get pregnant before you know it, and then it'll be too late to do anything about it. Well, you're a respected lawyer, and you have connections. Do something." Terrible grief rushed into Sebastián's life unexpectedly and turned his whole life upside down. That fateful night, he worked as a part-time courier after classes and delivered goods to different addresses, as usual. For some reason, he could not get Mariana on the phone, though this had never happened before. She always answered the phone right away. Some kind of anxiety plagued him throughout the evening. He was nervous. What's the matter? Mariana was always home in the evening. She never went anywhere without me. And her phone is always with her. Did something happen? When his shift was finally over, he immediately rushed home. Not far from his house, the man noticed 2 fire trucks, police, and an ambulance. There was black acrid smoke all around. The house was almost burned out. The guy panicked and began to break through the cordons and the crowd of people from all the neighboring streets. He shouted, "Mariana, my fiancée is there. Did you save her? What has happened? Where is she? I'm coming to you. Hold on." They kept telling him, "You can't go there. The house burned to the ground. No one survived. The wiring must have been old, so it shorted out. We checked, and there's no one alive or dead. We're very sorry for your loss." When the fire was extinguished, Sebastián ran into the yard. Everything was black, mixed with ash, foam, and water. In the hallway, there were Mariana's burnt slippers and the remains of her warm sweater, which she always wore at home. The boy wandered through the charred wooden wreckage as if in a daze and shouted, "Mariana, where are you, darling? Answer me. I don't believe you're dead. Don't leave me, do you hear? I will die without you." He cried, screamed, howled, and rolled around on the dirty, charred boards, completely mad with grief. By then, Sebastián's father drove up and, witnessing this terrible scene, anxiously asked the policeman, "God, has he lost his mind? Why is he acting this way? How can we bring him to his senses?" The man sighed and answered, "He's in shock. The brain denies what happened, you know? It's a normal defensive reaction. It will pass in time. Take him away. Try not to talk about it, distract him. Time heals. I'm so sorry for your loss." The father quietly approached the boy. "Son, can you hear me? It's me, your father, let's go home. You can't bring her back." When Sebastián saw his father, he became furious and attacked him with his fists. "It's all your fault. You and Mom. You did it, didn't you? You hated her. Are you happy now? Mariana died." And the boy laughed hysterically. He crossed himself and said, "What are you talking about, son? Are you out of your mind? We didn't like your fiancée, but we didn't want that poor girl to die. Stop it. I know you loved her and you're suffering right now. But your mother and I would never do that. Don't accuse us of such terrible things. The fireman already told me it was an accident. The old damn wiring shorted out. The fireman already told me it was an accident. The old wiring shorted out. Damn it. Come on, there's nothing more to do here." The body was never found, so Mariana had not yet been declared dead. Sebastián immediately went to the police and filed a missing persons report. At the police station, he filled out a couple of forms and attached photos of his beloved. The policeman put all the data into the database, and that was the end of the story. Time passed, and Sebastián constantly inquired how the search was going, but the investigator tiredly replied, "We are still searching. Don't worry, we'll find her." After that, they gave him a piece of paper declaring Mariana missing, and in a few years, she would be declared dead. Sebastián accepted her death inwardly. Marina just couldn't leave him, only death could separate them forever. Sebastián totally isolated himself, shut himself off from everyone. He had almost no contact with his parents. After classes at the university, he went to his room, locked the door, played Mariana's favorite song, put on headphones, and cried silently, remembering how happy they were. He covered all the walls with her pictures. At that critical moment, when Sebastián did not want to live, Laura supported him greatly. She visited him often. They would stay in his room and talk for a long time. Sebastián needed to tell someone how much he loved Mariana. Laura listened to him devotedly, never interrupted, and was sympathetic. She tried to distract him somehow. Sometimes she asked for help with a science project or asked him to fix a broken computer, or suddenly she had an extra ticket to the cinema and didn't have anyone to go with. Sebastián's parents were happy and supported Laura in every way. They were happy for them to be together because they were afraid their son would go absolutely crazy with grief if he were alone. So, Sebastián and Laura didn't notice that they became very close. It happened at her birthday party when all the guests had already left. There were no declarations of love, but Laura, having drunk some champagne for courage, started kissing him, and Sebastián, also being drunk, silently threw her on the bed. Sebastián had no feelings for Laura, he did not even hide it. Did Laura love him? Who knows? Perhaps she had been convinced of it by everyone around her. Her parents insisted, saying, "Don't waste time thinking about it, he's a good guy. And he has a great family. Sebastián is a decent man." Her friends also kept telling her, "Laura, don't wait. Just take things into your own hands. Otherwise, your Sebastián will be stolen by other girls. He's a handsome, promising, intelligent guy." The truth was that both before and after the wedding, Sebastián and Laura remained just friends. There was not that warmth and passion between them. It is terrible to think about it, but even in bed Sebastián imagined that Laura was his Mariana, and that was the only way he could get pleasure and relaxation. Laura wanted a baby so badly, but she couldn't get pregnant. She was very worried and constantly visited doctors. And Sebastián was even glad in his heart that they had no children. If Mariana had given him a baby, he would be very happy, but now. Many people envied them, a beautiful house, enough money, peaceful life, and no scandals. People just didn't realize that there were no scandals because everyone had their own life. They were strangers, they didn't even have anything to talk about. That is why divorce was inevitable, even though many couples live their lives that way, just out of habit. After the divorce, 8 years flew by like a day. During this time, Sebastián had many women around, and all of them wanted to have fun with such a pleasant man, especially since he was the CEO of a big company. But usually, he did not let anyone close to him, he was incredibly bored with them. They were all the same, even behaved the same, just beautiful dolls with long artificial eyelashes, nothing more. That morning Sebastián woke up with a severe headache. His mouth was dry and he was thirsty. He could barely remember what had happened yesterday. His deputy's birthday had been so wild, they had been out partying at the restaurant until late at night. His whole body ached. Sebastián struggled out of bed and wandered to the refrigerator. He had a typical man's refrigerator, only a few eggs, half a pizza, and a few bottles of beer inside. Finally, the beer came in handy. The man opened the bottle and sipped greedily on a big gulp. Now I wish I had some hot chicken soup," he thought dreamily. The man took a cool shower and looked for a clean shirt. Then he muttered something to himself for a long time and ironed it. There were signs of the lack of a woman's presence in the apartment. Dust on the shelves, a basket of dirty laundry stuffed to the top. The formerly fragrant orchids on the windowsills had long since withered away because he always forgot to water them. Maybe I was wrong to divorce Laura. This place looked very different when she was here. Not a speck of dust, not a speck of dirt, and a hearty meal. What was I missing? Adrián was right, it's sad to be alone too. Sebastián suddenly thought. He pulled out the old photo album again and began to look at how he and Mariana were smiling and waving. They were so young and happy. Jesus! When will this obsession go away? Oh, Mariana, Mariana. Why do I compare every woman in the world to you? I will never get married again. I have no peace of mind with anyone else. I have to do something about it. Otherwise, I will die alone, like a lone wolf. Sebastián scolded himself. In the evening, a heavy thunderstorm broke out. Out of boredom, the man decided to check his social media, as usual. Since Sebastián was very handsome, many girls texted him and wanted to get to know him. They were all ready to meet right away. Sebastián did not take such meetings seriously, he only met some of them out of boredom. This time chatting with women lasted an entire evening. He could smell greedy money hunters a mile away and blocked them immediately. Other women turned out to be narrow-minded and illiterate after a little communication. He wasn't interested in such women either. Others already had several children, and Sebastián was not yet ready to take that step. Only one woman caught his eye. She had a picture of cream roses instead of her photo. Sebastián sighed sadly. Mariana, those are her favorite roses. The man scrolled through her profile story. Interesting, this stranger visits my profile almost every day and doesn't text me anything. Sebastián was intrigued and immediately texted her, "Good evening, maybe it's time for us to connect." The reply came instantly. From the first lines, he was immersed in communication with this mysterious stranger. Everything went easily and smoothly. For a whole week, Sebastián asked her to send her photo and insisted on seeing her in person, but the woman replied evasively, "Would a photo change anything? And if appearance is all that matters to you, then it's better to cut off our communication right away. For me, it is not that important what a man looks like. It is much more important how he acts and how he feels. In my opinion, people are attracted to each other if their inner world matches. Isn't that right? I'm not a supermodel, but I'm not ugly, just an ordinary woman. We'll definitely meet, but later. No rush. Let's get to know each other better first." By the end of the week, the man was desperate and decided that the stranger was just mocking him. Otherwise, what was the reason for the refusal? Finally, on Sunday, she texted unexpectedly, "Let's meet today. 7 p.m., Café Victoria downtown." Sebastián cried out with joy. "Yay! I wonder what she's like. Would she like me? What if it really works out? It seems like we think alike, our opinions are the same. So, what kind of suit should I wear? I have to pick out a tie and get flowers. Oh, my God. I'm acting like a teenager. I'm 45. It'll be funny if she's a fat lady about 10 years older than me." At 7 o'clock, Sebastián entered the cafe. He was holding a huge bouquet of delicate cream roses. Everyone who was in the cafe turned their heads after him, for he was a very good-looking man. He turned his head, trying to guess if there was that mysterious stranger among the women, and almost bumped into a janitor. He apologized and was about to go away when suddenly a handmade silver bracelet glittered on her hand. There could be no mistake. There could be no second bracelet like that. He shouted, "Excuse me, can I talk to you for a minute?" Then the woman turned to him, and he was shocked. It was his Mariana. Unbelievable. The same sad blue eyes and dimples on her cheeks. He rushed to her, embraced her, and held her close to him. "Mariana. My darling. Are you alive? But how? It's unreal. Darling, how happy I am to have found you." She cried and answered, "It was not you who found me. I found you on a dating website, you old womanizer. You were on your way to meet me." Everyone present was shocked and watched with open mouths this scene as if it was some TV show. Noticing this, Sebastián said, "Let's get out of here, it's too noisy. We have to talk about everything." Mariana shook her head negatively. "I can't, it's 2 hours before my shift ends, and I can't just leave." Sebastián laughed. "You don't work here anymore. Just let them know you're leaving. I'll take care of everything else." Sebastián took his beloved home and they sat opposite each other on the sofa and began to talk. Sebastián was perplexed. "Tell me everything. How did it happen? That night the house burned down, they said the wiring was faulty. I saw your burnt slippers and your sweater. They said no one survived the fire. I examined every millimeter of the house myself. Oh, my God. I buried you in my mind. And you were officially declared dead." The man took out the death certificate from the box with shaking hands and handed it to the woman. Mariana sighed. She was silent for a long time and began her sad story. Shortly before our wedding, while you were at the university, your father came to me. I could tell by his tone and look that this was not going to be a good conversation. But I was shocked by what I heard. He's the one who forced me to do this. Your father said you had a fiancée, Laura, the daughter of businessmen, and that I was only an orphan and that I had nothing. And that he and your mother would do anything to keep us from getting married. He promised to give me a lot of money and help me to get a new passport if I went away. I would never agree to that. I tried to explain that I loved you and that I would never give up. It all seemed so crazy to me. Then he hissed like a snake. Dash, if you don't agree, you'll regret it. I will turn your life into a nightmare. Do you want to go to jail? I can do that. I have enough connections, believe me. Tomorrow a policeman will come and search you. He will find illegal substances in your pocket. You'll end up in a jail cell. And when you get out, no one will want you anymore. You'll be just an aged woman with a criminal past. You don't have a choice. Just do it the easy way. I'm counting to 3. I was really scared because your father had the right connections in legal circles and he could easily finish me in some jail, so I did what he wanted. The house burned down and I don't know how he did it. Now my name is Magdalena Duato, not Mariana Portillo. She handed him her passport. This is how I've lived my whole life. For years I've been renting an apartment 500 kilometers away. I brought up my son by myself. He's 20 now. But recently I felt so sad, so nostalgic. So I decided to come back here, to my native land. I heard about you, that you are divorced from Laura, so I decided to find you on social media. Sebastián couldn't believe his ears. Jesus! My poor girl. Please forgive me. I knew nothing. I was grieving and longing for you. If you don't believe me, ask Adrián. Do you remember my best friend? He helped me get out of that long depression. I thought I was going crazy. Then my parents insisted that Laura and I should get married. We ended up living with her for 10 years without being happy because we didn't love each other at all. So we decided to get a divorce. And my father, he died a long time ago, and my mother, too. Only God can judge them. I want us to be together again because I could never forget you. I never stopped loving you. The woman laughed. Couldn't forget? Seriously? You were in a hurry to see some woman right now, weren't you? You didn't know it was me, and you say you haven't forgotten. Honestly, I never had anyone after you. I gave all my love to my son, Silvio. I just didn't have time to look for a man. I was just trying to make ends meet so that my son had everything he needed. Sebastián began to flood the woman with questions. Wait, do you have a son? He is my son, isn't he? When did you give birth to him? Why didn't you say anything about the pregnancy? This is so cruel. Mariana started crying. Don't yell at me. I found out about the pregnancy when I left this city. Do you know how hard it was to bring up my son alone? And how bitter it was to explain to him that his father will never come to see him. So don't judge me. Silvio is a great guy. Sebastián changed his tone. I'm sorry, it's just that I dreamed of having children for so many years, and it turns out I could have raised a son. That's why I got mad. Not at you, but at destiny. Can I see him? Please. Mariana answered, I don't mind, you're his father. But I don't know how he'll take it. He's a big boy now. So you have to explain everything to him yourself and try to find an approach to him. Sebastián couldn't take it anymore. He instinctively pressed himself against Mariana and began to cover her neck and face with passionate kisses. The woman was trembling. It was obvious that they both missed each other very much. The moon was shining softly through the soft curtains, peeking at the lovers. Mariana dozed, exhausted after the passionate love, her cheek pressed against his muscular shoulder. Sebastián could not fall asleep. He softly stroked her hair and inhaled her unusual fragrance. He wanted to shout with happiness to the whole world. He whispered all the time, "My love, I won't give you up to anyone now." In the morning, he jumped up in fright when he didn't find Mariana there. He was trembling like a fever. What had happened? Why had she left? Had I offended her in some way? Maybe it was only a dream and I am going mad. Finally, he found a note on the nightstand, and there were only a few words. "I'm off to work. Come over for dinner tonight at 8. I love you. Mariana." The address is on the back of the note. He began kissing this piece of paper and almost cried from happiness. Sebastián left work early for the first time. He bought a huge pizza, cake, champagne, and flowers for Mariana and decided to meet her from work. The cafe staff was shocked when such a handsome man in a fancy car with a huge bouquet approached the janitor. Sebastián asked where the manager's office was and walked inside. 15 minutes later, he took Mariana's hand, kissed her on the cheek, and they left. Everyone started a lively discussion about what was going on. "Wow, I'm shocked at Mariana. She is so quiet, poor, unhappy, and has a disabled son. And eventually, she seduced such a handsome man. How did she do it? There is nothing special about her. She is just an ordinary woman." In the car, Sebastián gave Mariana her salary for the week. "I talked to the manager. You don't work here anymore. I can't let my beloved woman work as a janitor and ruin her health. Here's your hard-earned money." Mariana was indignant. "How? Why? What will I live on? It was so hard to get that job. I really need money now, and here I could take extra shifts." The man smiled. "Well, I mean, you're a teacher. So you're going to work at a school, teaching children. Isn't that what you've been dreaming about all your life? And if you want, you can be just a housewife. You don't have to work. I have enough money to provide for us." Mariana sighed. 6 months ago, my son got into a terrible accident. He was hit by a drunk driver right on the crosswalk. Now he's disabled and can only move around in a wheelchair. Before that, he was a promising soccer player. He has been awarded several times. He needs urgent surgery. If it is delayed, he will never get back on his feet. Where will I get so much money? This surgery is very expensive. Even if I sold a kidney, I wouldn't have enough money. My heart is aching when I look at my son. I try to encourage him. I save money little by little, and at night I scream into my pillow. Anyway, let's go to dinner with Silvio, you'll see." Sebastián entered the house and shook hands with the boy. He thought to himself, "My God, he looks just like me when I was young." Silvio was surprised. "Mom, do we have guests? You didn't tell me anything. Is it someone from your work?" Mariana blushed and felt embarrassed, and Sebastián took a deep breath and told it like it was. "No, Silvio, I'm not your mom's colleague. I am your father. My name is Sebastián. I only found out about you yesterday. It's not my fault, believe me. I'd like to communicate with you if you don't mind." The boy changed his face, gritted his teeth, and turned to his mother. "Mom, you knew who my father was, that he was alive and well, and you kept silent? Why? I asked you about it 100 times as a child. Is that fair? And you, Daddy, for 20 years you never came to visit your son, and now you're madly in love? Go to hell, all of you." And he abruptly turned the wheelchair around and went back to his room, slamming the door. Yeah, it was not the kind of meeting Sebastián had hoped for, but he said out loud, no one promised it would be easy. He's already grown up, and suddenly someone claims to be his father. He needs time to accept that fact. I'll try to talk to him calmly again. Don't cry, I'll find an approach to him, I promise. He knocked quietly on the door and asked, "Silvio, may I come in? We need to talk. If not, I'll understand and leave." The man grumbled grudgingly, "Well, come in. I guess now you will tell me that you are an astronaut, polar explorer, or 007 agent and that you could not share any information about yourself for 20 years. I have heard many such stories. Only I am not 5 years old. The noodles aren't holding on my ears anymore," he said sarcastically. Sebastián sighed. "Silvio, answer me one question. Do you have a girlfriend?" He was confused. "Yes, her name is Natalia. Why?" His father continued. "Then you will understand me. Do you love her?" "Yes, very much. And she didn't leave me, even though I'm disabled. We are trying to raise money for my surgery together." Sebastián continued. "Silvio, your mother and I fell in love when we were in our 20s, just like you are now. My parents were against it because she was an orphan, but I disobeyed them, and your mother and I started to live together. And just try to imagine, I came home and found out everything had burned down, and your mother died. And I didn't know anything about you, that is, that Mariana was pregnant. Only yesterday your mother confessed that it was my father who intimidated her and made her fake her death. And later she found out she was pregnant. What would you do if you were in my shoes? Your mother and I are both victims of my parents. They screwed up our whole lives. And don't hold a grudge against your mother. What could she tell you? They even made her change all her papers. But I found you now. So what's stopping us from communicating? Just like that, like human beings, like family? I understand perfectly well, you are a grown-up man, and I'm not going to teach you life or educate you. But I want to be part of your life, to help you, to give you some advice when you need it. Is that so bad?" Silvio timidly held out his hand and shook it. "I'm sorry, I didn't know it was like that. It's just that my mom never told me anything. She just said we couldn't see each other, and that was it. So I got mad. I thought for a long time about why my father never wanted to meet me after all these years." Sebastián said, "Let's go eat pizza and have tea and cake. Your mom must be worried to death, thinking we're arguing here." When a frightened Mariana saw the father and his son coming out peacefully, laughing and chatting about something, she felt as if a huge stone had been removed from her soul. Thank God. They're getting along. Sebastián kept his word and helped find money to pay for his son's surgery. He got a huge loan, borrowed from friends and colleagues, and placed Silvio in the best clinic with a well-known professor of neurosurgery. Fortunately, they made it in time, and a year later the boy was already running and playing soccer as before. He and Silvio became best friends. The son introduced his father to his fiancée Natalia. He really liked the girl. She was a cheerful, optimistic person. She strongly motivated and supported his son during rehabilitation and knew how to encourage him to do exercises through the pain. Natalia took care of him as if he were a child. Through his friends, Sebastián got Mariana a job as a primary school teacher at a nearby school. She didn't need this job for the money, but for her soul. He saw how much she enjoyed her job. He remembered how she dreamed of becoming an educator. Mariana happily checked the children's workbooks and told him every night about her students, and he just smiled and was happy for her. Sebastián sold his apartment and bought a big house so there would be enough room for everyone in his large family. What a joy it is when you come home and your beloved wife, son, and future daughter-in-law are waiting for you. Everyone is laughing and telling each other stories. That's what a really friendly family is all about. In addition, Natalia found a funny little puppy somewhere, and they immediately nicknamed him Baxter. So now there were even more family members. And it doesn't matter anymore that because of the intrigues of his parents, he wasted so many years. The main thing is that finally, they are together. Now Sebastián, sitting at the dinner table as head of the family, looked at his son and Natalia and told, "So, kids, don't wait too long to get married. Because we really want to babysit our grandchildren." They only blushed and laughed. Laura, Sebastián's ex-wife, also had a wonderful life. Soon after the divorce, she met a nice man. He worked as a manager in their company and, as it turned out, had been secretly in love with her for a long time. The couple got married, and Laura finally got pregnant. Despite all the doctor's doubts, an adorable child was born. Laura thought of Sebastián many times and thanked him in her heart that it was he who had decided to divorce her, because she certainly would not have taken that step herself, otherwise neither of them would have been happy.
If you're enjoying it as well, leave a like and subscribe to the channel.